Hello and welcome back to She's in Focus, the podcast dedicated to inspiring and empowering female filmmakers and videographers from all walks of life and on every step of their creative journey. I'm your host, Kel Grant, an aspiring filmmaker from New Jersey who's just trying to turn my passion into something more and connect with amazing women who have the same passion for video. One of those being Anaïs Bajeux, a filmmaker who combines her love of travel, filmmaking, and activism. Today, she is a director, camera operator, editor, and produces corporate and event films, documentaries, and dance videos while directing her work towards social and environmental projects. Calling in all the way from France, Anaïs, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
This is wonderful. We were just talking about how great technology is that we're able to speak to each other on two different sides of the world here. But yeah, we're bringing the female filmmaker gang together, and we're reaching all continents and countries. So we're really glad to have you here. Wonderful. So I'm excited to talk about your filmmaking journey. You've traveled quite a bit, and while you haven't always been in the audiovisual world, I think you were in sales working as a salesperson before this, you took the opportunity to produce your first documentary in 2013 by traveling to the Amazon. Was this your kind of first step into the film world?
Yeah, it was. Well, actually, I was more... I was very attracted by films, but I never really take the opportunity and the time to challenge myself and to make my own projects. The only film that I made before that documentary was a very short film for a contest. And I guess this was kind of my only experience. And in a way, I guess my parents was quite surprised when I say, oh yeah, I would like to make some film. Because they never really saw me using a camera. As I can see some geeks person like, yeah, I always love cameras since I'm 15. No, not my case. Well, I was making a lot of photos. So more photos than movies. And for a long time, I was very monopassionate about horses. So for a long time, until I was 16, I always wanted to work with horses and no film at all. But then that's horse riding stuff. It's, I don't know in other countries, but in France, you have money or you don't have. It's like, if you have money, okay, we like you. And if you're not really well seen. So It's a bit, not the more gentle sector, I guess. I was getting disgusted by some people. So I really quit, and it was like, oh, okay, I always knew what I wanted to make in life, and then suddenly I have no idea. So it was like a big period asking some existential questions, and I was very attracted by arts. So I was writing a lot, making a lot of photos, and I was like, okay, art could be so interesting because you can be passionate by anything, like geopolitics or food. You can just tell your story in a photo or in a book or in a film. And I found like film was very popular and accessible to people. So I was like, okay, let's go. Why not to try to be in a cinema school? But in France, it's like you have some private school, very expensive. Well, less than the US, obviously.
Yeah.
But still, because we have public school, it's like, okay, it's like, 8,000 euros a year. So you have to make 3 years. So it's a lot for us. And I have 2 sisters. So I was wondering, okay, maybe it's not the good deal because I don't want to ask a credit in a bank, just being very new. So I didn't want that. Or maybe you have some public school. We have 2 which are the top 10 of the best school in the world, after the US, or I don't know. Well, anyway. But very difficult is like you have 4 places for 2,000 people or maybe more. Or after
Wow.
you have university, which is free, but you have not a lot of equipment, so it's more theory than practice. So
Hmm.
I decided to travel a bit. I went to Canada for 3 months. I was very shy, so it helped me a lot to develop my English and just to see other countries, meet new people. And then I went back to France and I just try some professional experience to have some few money. And I was like, okay, well, with my diploma, it's the high school diploma, I have nothing. It's like you can make all
Right.
the shitty job that no one wants to make. And so I was very enthusiastic to come back to school, but it was still the same question. Okay, what to do? Because still I'm interested to make film, but it seems to me very difficult to access. Also because I'm not from a big city, so it means I have to move. So it means you need to have some money to
Hmm.
for accommodation and all the stuff. And my mother was in trade. She was making a lot of different things in her life, and she was telling me like, you can try to be some trade stuff. So I have a training to be sales representative. I don't know if it's correct. Yeah,
Yep.
and actually I didn't really like it. It's like I make 2 years like that. It's not really my stuff. But in a way, today I'm freelance, so obviously it helped me a lot. It's like how to sell things, how to sell
Yeah.
yourself.
Of course. That's all it is. Yeah.
So anyway, I finished my stuff and was like, okay, now I want to be independent from my parents, so I need money, obviously, and I want to travel and to go far away. So I went to Australia for 6 months. I was living in my car, traveling and sleeping around with my ex-boyfriend. And then he was like, wow, the freedom. And yeah, I wanted to continue to do this, like traveling. So came back, have some shitty job. uh, Shitty in the way that is not for me. Actually, it's just like you can have
Hmm.
quick jobs. It's easy to find, but obviously it doesn't ask a lot of skills.
Hmm.
And after the experience, shops after shops, I was selling clothes in different shops, different brands. I live in the Alps, which is the place where all the Chamonix, where I live, actually is very popular, and all the planet is coming here. So you have
Hmm.
a lot of people, so which is very good because you can meet a lot of nationalities, speak English or any language that you want. But also all the people when they come, there's many people, and people when they get bored, they buy stuff that don't need.
Of
um
course.
and they have the very ephemer, I don't know if in English if it's correct, it's like the very short, that thing, it's a needs, but it's just because they get annoyed of doing what they do. So it's like, okay, I will buy a clothes, and you already know that that clothes will stay in the wardrobe. And
Right.
I was just disgusting about this. Is like consumerism and capitalism.
Yeah.
Um, just save your money and do something else.
Right. Right.
So this is how my idea of going to the Amazon came. At the very first beginning, it was a very different idea. I was in a long relationship with my ex-boyfriend. I wanted to have a transition as job. I wanted to make film, and I turned the page, as we say in French, and I
Hmm.
say, okay, I broke. I need to travel alone because I never traveled alone, and I need to confront myself and to challenge a bit. So I wanted to
Mm.
go horse riding for 6 months alone in Asia, in India, to be honest. And then I was like, okay, India, there is too many people. Where I wanted to go, and I went looking for, I guess, information on the net, and then I saw that there were a girl crossing all the Americas, south to north, alone with 3 horses for 2 or 3 years. I don't remember. And I was like, wow, such an adventure. I would love to make the same. It would be amazing. And she was talking about Costa Rica. I was like, okay, yeah, interesting. She was talking about the jungle, how beautiful it was, and was like, it's like all my kids' dreams. Very attracted by what she was talking about, and I was like, yeah, maybe I should go there. But in a way, it's like the horse. If he's going to the jungle, you don't have food, so maybe it's not a good place, or maybe it's not the good time to be with horse. But maybe I can be alone with my backpack. It will be cheaper. I will be on my own, and if I go in the jungle, I should go to the Amazon. So this is how it began, and it took me 10 months to prepare the travel, and my goal was to combine travel and film, as you told before. So I was thinking that project to be like a business card, so a transition for after. So to prove to myself that I was able to do this, it was my first film, really, because it's a long feature film. And the goal was to understand the situation of the deforestation, the situation of indigenous people, and how the environment of those people are impacted by deforestation and maybe by our behaviors from Western people. And also about hydroelectric dam, which have environmental and social impacts. I never spoke Portuguese.
Right.
So I decided to go to Brazil because that area seems to me the best, because the most of the diversity for indigenous people, for forests, blah blah blah. So I was speaking a bit of Spanish, but not fluently, and never Portuguese. So it was a big challenge. So fortunately Google Translation is talking now. So I I just learned some sentence like, hello, my name is Anaïs, I'm making a movie, a documentary about blah blah blah, and that's it. But Spanish and Portuguese is very similar, just the pronunciation is a bit different and you need to get used to it. And so 10 months of preparing that project, and then I was like, okay, I'm going now. I quit my job, and then I have to go alone, and then I am in couple. So I was like, and that guy is still my boyfriend now. He was actually very attracted by that project too, and he was like, okay, me too, I would like to quit my job and go with you, and maybe we can travel together. Yeah. So it's a good
That worked out, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have no apprehension,
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I knew it will be good for together, but still at the very beginning I was like, no, this is my own project, I have to go alone. But in a way, why not? It could be very interesting to be two also. So this is how it began, and then obviously when you arrive, it's like I obviously made to write all the things that we have to make or meet all the people, blah blah blah. And when you arrive, it's like, I don't know where to start.
Of course. Yeah, you're in a new place, of course.
Yeah. This is how it began.
Amazing. I'd imagine though, when you first thought of this, you were like, I have to do this on my own, but now that your partner was going with you. But I'd imagine that this trip, you still had to confront a lot of things, because you weren't just going to travel around and see all the places. You were going to make a movie.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine that put a little bit of pressure on the trip, because you had quit your job. So if you went to Brazil and you came back with nothing and no movie, you know, I'd imagine you would have felt pretty shitty about that, right? Like I set out to do this goal. So did you go there with the sense of like, I have to make this happen. I have to make this movie.
You're right saying this, but I don't feel that I have a lot of pressure. I mean, not in that way. It's like I knew that when I have to go back, I will have some video to make a film. The hardest part, I guess, was to try, because we have three parts, as I told you in the film, like deforestation, indigenous people, hydroelectric dam. Until the end, you don't know when you can succeed to meet all the people that you would like to meet. And like for example, to meet the indigenous people, as I was imagining this, like this is a fantasy, but still it's very like a postal card. Is like you want to have some naked people in the tribe living like very traditionally. This is very all the imagination of Western people, and in a way I was making a film, so this is a bit of what I wanted to see and to record. And those people exist. Is like a lot of indigenous, for example, live also in cities, so obviously they are like you and me, is like t-shirts, drinking coke, listen Rihanna in the middle of the forest too. Yeah, it's a bit oppressing. It's like, yeah, I have been so far, very far at the other side of the planet, and then it's like you are for I guess 10 days just hiking in the forest. You see nothing, no one, and then you arrive to a village, and what you hear, Rihanna. It's like, okay.
Oh my gosh,
I was not expecting this.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Wow, so tell me about the experience of actually filming. So did you have to get some sort of permission to film in these areas or with the indigenous people?
That's a very good question. Actually, the first feeling that we have, because we never been to South America before, it was the first experience, is the feeling that you are not safe. Being Western, so being white, so meaning that you are money. It's like you are dollar heads all the time. Even if we try to travel as the cheapest way with just a small backpack with one pants and two t-shirts, and all the Brazilians took us for Argentinians, because I guess it's the image that they have of white people, like a bit hippie, traveling with backpack.
Yeah.
So in a way it was good for us, but still we have cameras, so we have stuff which is valuable. And I guess for 6 months, for two of us, well, for myself, I was not a bit, I was paranoid because you knew that even if it's midday in the middle of the city, a kid can have a gun and say, give me what you have. Right. So you know that. So you try to word the very simple way, and you always, in a way, it was good to be two, because when I have the camera, he can just check and be sure that maybe it's a good time to do it. The problem with this, it was a long time, so you can think of, maybe I should do better next time, blah blah blah, is because you are hesitating too much when you film, when do I take the camera? No, maybe not, because I don't feel safe. You miss a lot of things. It's like, obviously. It was not really, I guess, in another way, in another situation, I would love to be with local people, but very local, to work with me all the time in all the project, because they knew when it's good to when it's okay, and sometimes you don't feel safe at all and say, no, it's fine. It's like, okay. I believe you. I try to trust you. I guess it's the hardest parts. After as you told us, your question was, do we need permission? You do. Because like in the USA, you have some restricted areas for indigenous, protected by the government. And in the Brazil, for those areas, you need to ask some permission about, there is a federal government, blah blah blah. So actually they are the person that you intermediate, if you like, and then after they ask to the communities, do you want to receive them or not? But it could take a very long time to have an answer. And I'm not the BBC. I'm not a very important person. No one's know me. So I guess for all the 6 months, it was very difficult for us to. We have the feeling. We are not journalists. We don't have a production behind us. It's just two tourists, to be honest,
Sure.
who wanted to know more about the situation in Brazil, about those people. So we have a lack of credits, actually,
Right.
especially when we have been in the hydroelectric dam, because it's a very polemic situation. And 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 we face to people who are really journalists, and they're very militant activists, and you're some people just look at you is like, oh, come on, I don't want to talk to you because you're not important enough for the gravity. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so important that we need to talk to someone who have the capacity to transmit that message, which is very heavy, you see.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So did you the indigenous people, you were able to film them?
It was big. It was very difficult, actually, because
Mm,
we traveled 6 months, and then from the very beginning, you need to decide. It's like, who would I like to meet as community? Because there is 250 ethnies in Brazil, who is indigenous. So you need to choose one, obviously,
yeah.
depending of the geography, but also you don't know how to reach them. And so we reached some NGO, and we were very lucky, because just when I was preparing before the departure, I was interviewed on a French radio, a national French radio, and those guy was like, "Oh yeah, but actually we interview an indigenous guy. He's speaking French. He was living 2 hours driving from my town, and he knew everyone there, because the indigenous world is very very small, and because they have all the same problems.
Right.
They know everyone know everyone. So that guy helped us all the 6 months long. So we were very lucky. He was like, "Oh yeah, you need to meet that people, and you will see blah blah blah, and then ask for that." Or it's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like having an assistant. So it was very handy. But still, until the end, we didn't know how it was possible to really live in a community, because if you live there, you need at least a permission, or if you don't have a permission, as we did not, you need
Mm,
to be invited. So you need to find the people who want to invite you, and how
yeah.
much does it cost to be invited? Because invited, as well, I guess in the US too, but if I say I invite you, it means it's free, but not for those people.
Right. Right.
So I don't want to make a junior ID, but it's like those people have been so much, and still now, scammed by the white people. So obviously they cannot trust you. It's like native people in the USA. It's a very similar history. So we were lucky to be invited, and then we were like, it's like 5 hours driving from the very small town, to go to access to the community. And then it's not because you're there that you are allowed to stay there. So you need to meet the chief, and you need to have
Wow.
all the men, because the men decides.
Of course.
Yeah, as we knew.
Yes.
And then you have to present why you here. So, and I'm a woman. Obviously, my partner was with me, but I'm the chief of that project. So it was always me, the referent person, if you want. So for them, it's like when you travel in other culture like Asia or Africa, you are not really a woman. You are, because you see, you are just the third sex. You're not a man, but you're not really a woman because you're white. and because you are not from the culture, if you want. So you are a different sex, but we don't know. It's like a snail. We don't know.
Yeah, it's another character of other. Yeah.
Exactly, another gender. So why not? And they told us, yeah, you can stay, and we stay for 2 weeks, which is it doesn't seem too long because we stay 6 months, but 2 weeks for them, for free. It's
wow,
a bit exceptional. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about that experience, because you were living amongst the indigenous peoples. You were in there. Yeah. I'm sure the footage you got was amazing, and you had access that, not a lot of people get.
So I wanted to, we arrived. So we were allowed to stay 2 weeks, and then at the end of the first week, there is another team who were Korean, who wanted to make a documentary in the same village. So they pay $7,000 to come. No, it's too much. Yeah, maybe it was this. I don't remember. It was like,
They paid a large sum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They pay a lot to have the rights to be there and to film what they wanted to film. And we didn't, it was not really the same direction that we wanted to have, because I didn't want to expect them to act or to do something just for me, because I just want to observe and then to film what I see. And if there's some things that I cannot, I don't want to force them, obviously, to allow me to come. And obviously, because we didn't have a translator with us, and because you don't know the culture, we did some mistake and you don't understand why. It's like, please explain me. I'm not.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not trying to do anything wrong.
Yeah, but still, I don't know. Anyway, right. So those guy, the Korean guy, it was very interesting to see how they interact with those people, because they wanted to make the kind of documentary that was, other people but not from there wanted to see. It's like, okay, we don't want, even if you're like very traditional houses with woods, all in wood, you see. So it could be like 2,000 years ago. It could be it's very intemporal. So they asked them, okay, please remove all the plastic, remove the models, remove all the technology that we don't want you to seem so familiar with technology. So it was very, I hate this. It's like, come on, it's not really the truth. So
they're
you
like
are just...
That feels like they're exploiting them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a bit. And also, they ask them to act like the ideal character of what we're expecting from indigenous.
Wow.
Is like, okay, this is not at all what I want to see and what I want to demand. So I don't remember your question. I don't know if I was answering well.
Okay, this is great information. So that Korean film team came, and they were in a few ways exploiting the indigenous people. And even if you don't want to go as far as saying they were exploiting them, they were, demanding things that you didn't want in your film.
Yeah.
So you had to navigate, because they were there for the last week that you were there. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you had to kind of work alongside of them, or?
No, actually, we didn't disturb them, and they didn't disturb us, so it was fine. So no worry for that. But we just have some different approach, I guess. And it's exactly what I was thinking. Is like, okay, I'm very young filmmaker, and I realized that I also have a responsibility when I make a film, because I'm delivering a message. I'm delivering a certain vision of what I want to see and what I want to transmit. So maybe the people who are watching this in TV, maybe they don't have the money or the time to go there in Brazil to check if what they see in the documentary is true or not.
Yeah.
And it's never fake. It's not fake, but it's not really true. So it's like, okay, we are just mixing the reality just to, because maybe the production behind is asking this, or I don't know. So now I have another eye when I'm looking for a documentary which is talking about indigenous or exotic people, you see, because it's like, is it true? How true it is?
Yeah, I would have never thought that until you told me that. I would have never thought that people would go into, someone else's land, someone else's home, and demand them to act a way that they want them to act. But that's neither here nor there. So you spent the 2 weeks there, and after your 2 weeks with living within the indigenous community, did you then go back to France?
No, actually, we leave the community and we went to a national event, very new, and the goal was to, it was very weird. The name is Indigenous Game, and it was taking place in a capital of a region, which is Cuiabá. And Cuiabá is the capital of the Mato Grosso states. Mato Grosso in Portuguese means the big forest. And the paradox of Mato Grosso is that today is the state the most deforested. And so, yeah. Welcome to the paradox.
Right.
And then that event was very interesting because for them, it was like, coming to the end of our trip, but also the opportunity to meet a lot of different ethnies from Brazil, but also from different communities from all the America, also from USA. All the natives came from the North America, South America, blah, 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 just to represent who they are, the culture, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, look, the Brazilian government is organizing just to promote and just to look after all the diversity that we have, which is just for 2 days and after they kill you. But
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And it was very
big exhibition. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually my documentary is starting with that image because the place where that game was taking place was a botanic garden before, and they decide to deforest it to make some indigenous people just to have games for like a week.
Wow.
And then it was the perfect reason after to put a mall, commercial mall or something like that. It's like, okay, paradox.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Wow. That's so you leave Brazil with all of this footage.
Yeah.
And you go back to France and you have, so now I'd imagine, so you were there for 6 months. That's a long amount of time. That's a lot of footage to go through.
Well, it's 26 hours. It's not so much. Yeah.
Comparatively, yeah.
Yeah, for 6 months it's not really, and because I was not professional, I was like, I'm editing and now I know that I'm missing some footage.
Right.
But actually the thing was, we went back from Brazil and we needed to have a job, obviously, because we just have nothing, as you told before. We have also the opportunity to, both of us, my partner and I, to make a training. So it's like to make a professional transition, paid, so to go to school and make whatever you want. Because I was salaried before, we have some money saved, like a bank account, if you want. And it can allow you to pay you some trainings. So I have the opportunity to go in a cinema school because of this. Because of that money, I mean. Not because I was to the Amazon, because it was a private school, very expensive. I didn't pay on my own. But they just want you pay, and then it's fine, you come.
Yeah. That's so interesting that you had this wonderful, crazy experience in Brazil, and then you go to film school.
Well, I would love to go before, but
of course,
you see, In a way, it's very interesting because you are like autodidact. You learn by yourself, and then you experiment some few things. And then, as you told, I was living in the Amazon in 2013, and I finished my movie in 2017. So it's like
Wow, that's a long
a
time.
long
Yeah.
time. It's a long time because come back to the Amazon, then need to work for a year to have some money, and then go to school almost a year, go to internship in India for 6 months, and then a year to work on the post production of my movie or the Amazon, and then movie is done, and then I launched my company because I needed money.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. So let's backtrack a little bit. What was the biggest thing that you learned? What's your biggest takeaway from going to the Amazon? Because in a way that was your first big project, and you kind of just jumped right into it, and you went with your partner, but you were really leading this thing. So what did you learn from that experience?
I guess is you need to dare. You need to ask. I mean, even if you're shy, if you are attracted by something, you need to try. And still now, I was like, yeah, but you still now you can act and you can make an effort to make it more to there. It's like now I have another project as it's making a podcast, and the podcast is about making a documentary of my documentary because I'm very young. And I need to learn a lot of things. Even if I was to school, it was very short. It was 6 months of training. So obviously you're not professional when you go out from that. And I have a lack of information. And even if you're young, or even if you are very experienced as a filmmaker of documentaries, you're still wondering, okay, how I get fundings, how it will be released, how I can have a team, how
Yeah, there's so many questions still unanswered.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, maybe that podcast or that project will help me to dare more, to get all the information that I'm looking for, or maybe to make a network as you're doing now. It's like meeting new people. You can find some inspiration, and you can find new ideas and some collaboration maybe. So it's wonderful.
Yeah. I'm so excited for your podcast. I can't wait to tune in and listen.
I'm sorry. I guess the most will be in French, but
hey, that's okay. I know how to pronounce your production company, and I'll just call you and I'll say, Anaïs, can you just translate this whole episode for me? Oh, it's too good. So you went to film school, you said, or the cinema school. It was only about 6 months of training. You still came out with, you couldn't learn everything you could possibly learn in 6 months about documentary filmmaking. So you're starting this podcast. But tell us about the launching of, hold on, La Tribu Des Sauvages. Is it wrong? Almost. All right. Correct me.
No, that's good. It's La Tribu Des Sauvages, which means the tribe of the wild. Yeah.
Yeah, the S. I don't pronounce the S at the end there. Okay.
No worries.
So you launched that in 2017, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me what drove that decision and how you started.
Actually, I was very lucky before I was starting, because I have jobs before creating my company. So he hurried me, if you want, to launch my company. I was lucky in a way that I have friends. I have a filmmaker friend in Paris and a photographer friend who is living in my town. When they knew that I was like, maybe I should launch my company, they was giving me jobs, so it helped me obviously to start. It was not easy the first year, and still is not easy because it's COVID.
Yeah, the pandemic really threw a wrench in everything. Yeah,
for sure. So, as I guess a lot of filmmakers, how I get my money is from corporates and events films, because you have money, because you have work. But this is not my passion. I mean, it could be very interesting, but I would love to make just documentaries or clips. And when I say clips, it's not really about music, it's more about dance, because I'm just discovering also myself that I need some more artistic stuff in my work that I don't have with what I'm doing now. Maybe it could change, obviously. And I love body in movements. So it could be dance, it could be anything. And it's like, I love it.
That's great. So you had to take on some projects to kind of keep your business afloat with COVID hitting. So you kind of turned to corporate and events, but it's wonderful that you're kind of infusing that like creative freedom and flexibility and passion back into your work by working on things like dance videos and body movement clips and everything like that. Because I've seen your portfolio. I mean, even just what's featured on your website is a large portfolio and body of work in a bunch of different niches. So, I mean, you're certainly getting great practice in, but your real dream is to continue working on documentaries. Is that right?
Yeah. And I guess making also more cinematic stuff in documentaries.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that if people see beauty in a way, and beauty is very subjective, but still, if something is beautiful, you get more impacted of the message, I guess. And the last documentaries I made was because of COVID. We have a national channel of TV channel here in France, which is very popular and they make good stuff, you know. And they were organized a contest for female filmmaker, and you have to make short documentaries. So the maximum was 12 minutes. And I was making one about a duo of how to say, the public hospital, and two girls. They were 50 years old girls. And actually, the documentary is about how those jobs, which are very feminine, less paid, naturally social recognized, how they take care about others because they just spend 12 hours a day to take care of others, and because they are 50 years old, maybe they are mothers, and they have a couple, so when they go back home they also have the mental charge of taking care of others. So it's like, when do
never
you
ends.
When do you think to yourself? And exactly. I wanted to mix some dance parts just to have some artistic and oxygen, some air, mixing with all the interviews that they are making. But sorry, I still not have the English subtitles. I'm trying to make it.
That's okay. You know what I noticed about great films though is even if it's in a language I don't understand, if it's a really great film, you'll still get your message across. Even if I can't understand the interviews, based on the imagery and based on the transitions that you use and the music that you use, I can still basically understand what the documentary or what the film is about, even if I don't speak the language. So that's another thing I love about audiovisual. It's just, it holds so much power that you know, crosses over barriers such as language barriers. So when you're watching documentaries, what do you look for? What in your mind is a successful documentary when you watch it?
Very good question.
I'm curious because I think you probably look for something different than I look for because I don't have any experience in the documentary.
I don't know. I guess it's not just about documentaries. I guess for me a good film is a film that I want to look a lot of
watch
time.
Over and over. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because sometimes even if it's fiction, you have some pleasure just to watch it and say, okay, I have it was good. I spent a good time just watching it, but maybe I won't buy the DVD if you like.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Even if DVD now is over, but the thing is,
right.
Will I spend some money or will I spend some energy just to find it, to just watch it again? Because I appreciate to see it, and also because it permits me to have a reflection of the world. And I guess it's what I like in documentaries, because I was, right now I have another project of documentaries, a future film, which is about jail in France and
Mm-hmm.
horses. So it's actually the mediation. So how horses can help the prisoners, male prisoners.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Wow.
Yeah, we as in the US you have also some stuff like that, not exactly in the same way but similar,
Right. Certain
and is
rehabilitation efforts. Yeah.
yeah, it's like in Nevada you have, well, there's a film from Belgium. They make a document, or not a document, it's a fiction film uh, shot in Nevada about these jail horses, about mustangs, so the wild horses. Well, anyway, it's very interesting. So I was watching a documentary about hypnosis in Belgium, made in Belgium, and it was very interesting because you are in the hospital, and then you have all the free man. Is like, because they are leading you in other space, all your
Mm-hmm.
imagination. It's very poetic, and I love poetic stuff in documentaries and in fiction because it's a part of artistic stuff. And sometimes all the main ideas of people when they think about documentaries is like the lion is eating the zebra.
Exactly. Yeah.
the, the boring stuff that you have in 2 a.m. in the morning in the TV when you're drunk,
Yeah.
and which is not only this. So yeah, I'm trying to find some beauty and some poetic stuff, I guess, to answer you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's funny. I'm always blown away when I see a documentary that is, cinematic because, when I was growing up, the documentaries I know of are the, like you were saying, the like Discovery Channel lion eating a zebra. There's not much of a real story to go with it. It's just like action, action, action. But when I see a well put together documentary that incorporates like, the imagery and the music and the sound design, as well as like weaving through the stories, I'm like, oh, this is really raising the bar for what a documentary should be. I'm curious to know what your kind of your mission behind your production company is, because I know you said you like to focus on social environmental issues. So yeah, just tell me a little bit about your mission with La Tribu des
Um,
Sauvages.
the Sauvage.
Savage. Oh, Savage.
Yes,
Okay.
almost.
I'll get it by the end of the
Um,
episode.
I'm very attracted. I mean, I don't have the impression that a film can change things or can change the world or anything. But
Mm-hmm.
still, maybe it's people have a lot of pleasure to look films, to watch films. So maybe it's an opportunity for me as filmmaker to try to give my point of view of a situation. And I guess the we are living in a very special moment in the history of humans and of the planet, maybe, that climate change is here. We cannot deny it.
Yeah.
It's here, it's real. I live in a valley where there is glacier and they are melting and we don't have snow and blah blah blah. So I
Yeah.
guess everyone in the planet can see that there is a change coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to act, to make something, and to, yeah, I guess this is my way to make it. And I guess we are linked, we are connected as humans, to the environment. So when you combine the environment and the social issues, you get, I mean, it's very interesting because in the future, in 20 years, which is very near, I guess we will have a change, a real change. And maybe we won't, well, maybe as Western people, we are very lucky, we have some privilege to live in a rich country with with atmosphere which is not bad for agriculture, blah blah blah. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would like to be a witness also of those things, I guess.
Yeah, and with a lot of these issues, if some people aren't privy to them or if they're not aware that they're happening, seeing is believing. So being able to illustrate that in your films And of course, adding all those cinematic principles and techniques that we were talking about, you really have the ability to make an impact on somebody. And, you know, I know that you said that you don't think a film in and of itself can kind of change the world, but it can change somebody's thinking about something. And that's where the real change starts.
Yeah, I mean, when the Amazon film was released, it was in a lot of festival across the world, and I guess for few years I was in festival. I was in school to talk with people, so it was very interesting. And yeah, you had the impression to leave some seeds, and maybe you will see if the seed is taking or not. But now I have also the impression that when I was in a debate to say, oh, look, as a French, I have been to the Amazon, blah, 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 everyone is agree with me to say, yeah, deforestation is very bad. We should stop it. But we are not from Brazil. You see, it's just my point of view of Western girl going there in a region and a country where I don't have any attachments, any link. Right. So now I would like to have a point of view of my own society, because it's harder and maybe we have more deny. It's like I'm very attracted by feminism or colonialism or all the human rights stuff, which, as in the US, as a black girl, I guess you have also a lot of stuff to talk about. Some stuff that which is not normal, that you want people to react, and I guess it's maybe a harder mission, because to say, oh, look, in another country they don't act in the right way, but come on, just in French we say broom on your own door. Just look at what you are doing here and think about it. And maybe you won't like it to see what you are seeing, but maybe it's good to have your eyes in the front.
Yeah, I mean, if you're closer to it, it's certainly, you know, harder to kind of have an objective view on it, and maybe that's a good thing. You know, maybe being close to it is really going to make for an impactful story, because you do have some connection to it. You're not, like you were saying, you know, a Western girl going over to another place and saying, oh, this is the situation. You kind of have to confront some things in yourself if you're talking about issues that are closer to home. Yeah. But it's been 5 years since you launched your production company. So how do you think your business has evolved in the last 5 years, and what's your focus and your goal for the upcoming year? I guess for this year, 2021.
Yeah. I am in the complete transition. Yeah. Actually, the very beginning wasn't really easy. But I have the privilege to live in a place where my rent is not expensive. So, and also my partner, if I'm in economic situation which is difficult, he can help me. So even if I want to be independent, I know that I can have some support if I need it, really. So I guess the privilege or the chance that I took was taking time to make some project that I really like, even if I'm not really paid well. Because I was loving what the NGO does or anything. I would prefer to make a good portfolio of the project that I want to promote, instead of making really money. Why not? Obviously, we need money. Yeah. It's not a bad thing.
Of course,
I won't be a millionaire anyway. So especially if I want to make documentaries, but so the year just before COVID was the best for me. In the way that I make good money, but also COVID permit me to have a look of behind and say, okay, 50% of your salary is something that you don't really like. It's just events as photographer, you don't really like that, you would prefer to make other stuff. So I don't know in the US, but in France we are lucky to have some helps, some fundings from the government because of COVID as a company.
Yeah, same here.
So okay, so I decided to profit, to take all the money. I was like, okay, if I have some job coming, I take it. If not, I'm not searching for that, because I want to take that time to make something else, to make more personal projects, to develop more my artistic stuff. And this is how the documentary about jails came up. So now I would love to make more documentaries. And now at this autumn, I would like to make a new cinema school about documentary, how to write a documentary. So this is my goal. So making the podcast, so to understand how to make a documentary, making that school, and then trying to have some contract to live a bit and to have a few money. And and I guess, it's very interesting, because when you are in the when you dare and when you take time to contact people to make a network, and because you are convinced that it's a good thing, because we need collaboration, especially in our jobs. And when you see that people just are in the same direction as you are, it's a good feeling. And right now I had that feeling, which is, my future will be nice, I guess. I hope I will do it.
yeah, it's inspiring.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So I guess COVID will be less annoying, but who knows.
Yeah, and I mean your trajectory with your business, it really does kind of reinforce this idea of travel, filmmaking, and activism. So that's been the common thread through your whole story. Having that passion, and then also wanting to impact communities and spread messages that'll help better the world. So what is one thing about your story or about your journey that you want the people listening to remember or to take away?
I guess it will be just there. Just move your ass and do it yourself. Because I guess my mother, when I told her, oh yeah, I'm going to the Amazon, and she's a bit a warrior, so she always she was a leader of the family, and she always pursue all her dreams. So I have a lot of respect for that, and I guess he was a model also. So when I told her, I would like to make a trip, I would like to make a film in the Amazon, she was like, okay, let's see. And I was so angry about that. She's like, come on, you don't believe in me. Okay, I will do it. You will see. It's like, okay. So it's like, I don't want people to have some other people to, you don't have to react like that. But the thing is, believe in yourself, because it's your own life and it's very short, and no one will live your life for you. So just act, and then and then you will see. And you will see that when you ask people something, that they can say yes, they can say no, but they can say yes, and you won't die if they say no. So try.
Right. I love that message. That's wonderful, especially because like you're saying, you got to live your own life, and people may disapprove of what you're doing, but it's not their dreams, it's your dream. So you gotta what'd you say, move your ass, you just gotta do it. Amazing. So what would it mean to you to have a network of female filmmakers? Because as you know, we're in a male-dominated industry, and I don't know, how it is over in France, but in the US for sure, it is a boys' club. So that's the mission of this podcast, is to just try to build a community of female filmmakers and bring us all together. So what would that mean to you to have a community of other females in the industry?
I agree with you. I guess in France it's a bit similar. Especially about technologies, like all the camera operator will be more male, I would say. But in a way, I don't really know, because the technology now is very accessible. It's not so heavy. It's not so expensive. So in a way, anyone can be a filmmaker. It's very accessible. You can just upload on YouTube, and So it's just maybe the difference of education that you unconsciously is like we have different genders. So as a woman or as a man, maybe your parents or your environments encourage you more as a man to push your limits than a woman. I don't have the impression it was this for myself. I don't have the impression that we have 3 girls, so maybe that's why. But yeah, for me, it's very important to have some female community, because also the way of communication is different, and you know what? That's I'm more and more happy to be a women filmmaker, because I have the impression that I can go deeply in conversation, like very hard conversation about violence, about anything. If you're a woman, you can go everywhere. If you're a man, you can go in a intimate conversation with a woman. So I'm feeling like a privilege to have this, because if I have the sensibility to have this conversation, maybe I can have some open mind to receive what I would like to listen. So yeah, after I don't know so well. I guess the environment, especially TV and cinema, I guess yeah, it should be very similar to America, but I don't know. I don't know so well. It's like, I guess all the people who have a lot of responsibility, I guess obviously they're male. So I had the feeling that now a lot of things are changing. Our generation is inspiring, because like you're doing, it's like you're making a podcast about this. It's like so it means that you have something to tell, you want to share stuff, and I like this, and people are ready to listen. This is maybe the only difference, because women who wanted to talk, there were a lot in the history, but maybe people were not ready to listen. So I have the feeling that fortunately they are changing that way. Luckily.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. That's such a good point. You're right. We've always been willing to talk. It's just a matter of people being willing to listen. That's great. So where can the listeners and viewers of this podcast find you? On the internet, on social media?
So in the very French name, La Tribu des Sauvages. So I have a website. I have a Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. What else? Pinterest, and I guess you will put some links, so thanks for that.
I will, absolutely. So my last question for you, Anaïs, is how can the viewers and listeners of this podcast support you as a filmmaker?
Right now, give me some jobs, or give me some
hire me. Yeah.
No, I guess just leave some comments if you like, if you do not like, why you do not like, why you like. I guess he helped me a lot. Yeah, it will be just watch my films, and it will be the first very good stuff to support me, I guess.
Amazing. So I will link all of your socials, your website, where they can find you. And then hopefully, yeah, the community will reach out and support, because we are so excited to continue to grow this network of female filmmakers. Anaïs, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We had a wonderful conversation. I am still even more fascinated with your journey now that we've gotten to talk about the details, and I'm so excited to see what you do next.
Thank you very much.
All right, as usual, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Bye!